wow, yeah, the guy is a class apart. I
really feel like crying.
Frankly, never thought as a girl, never behaved as a girl. I said, what rubbish. I'm not getting married so early. It was very overwhelming. Extremely. I mean, it was like, the sky falling on your head.
Hello and welcome to Love Handle, where we get unfiltered about love and relationships. Today, we're very honored to have Miss Mona Malhotra joining us in conversation to share her 34 years of married wisdom and advice. Welcome. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I'm Mona Malhotra, and I currently am just a nanny, a grandmother to a little baby.
Yes.
She's 5 months old. That is my profession as of now. But yes, I used to be into garments. I used to customize garments for the longest period of time and had a very flourishing business. But now I think post-COVID, I've taken a backseat to working, and now I'm fully dedicated to my family. I have elderly parents. So that is my life as of now.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So glad to hear, and congratulations on the new little one. So what would you say is your favorite quality in your husband, or something that he does or has done that you're most grateful for?
I think he's a very nice human being. I mean, that's like I said, the values are what attracted us to each other. So there was once, I remember it was Valentine's, and we were all having, and it was very, I didn't say anything, but I was a little upset that, why hasn't he given me a gift or anything? Every year he would give me a card. I would make sure that he gives me a card. So, and that particular year, nothing was done and no preps were made. And we were at someone else's place for dinner. So I said, it's going to be 12, and I'm going to go home and I'm going to have this huge fight with him. Okay. In my head, I'm planning that, And sure enough, the doorbell rings, and there's a delivery of cake.
Oh, really?
That was planned as the dessert to be carried, and it was planned by him, and so sweetly, happy Valentine. So that is one thing that, so there's those little gestures that he'll always do. Like if I am unwell, he'll make sure that my meds are taken in time. He's very, very particular about that. It's just the care, the love, and the nicety of the person that, I have to share this. So we were on a group of friends traveling to, forgetting where we were going, but we were in this particular bus.
Okay.
And we were, I think, 26 of us in that bus. And there was a friend of ours who was discussing about whether a male child is important. Having a son is important. And the way Subhi stood up and said, if you want to do something for your wife, what is the son going to do? Look after your wife? Is that why the son is important to you? And he said, if you want to do something for your wife, do it yourself. Why wait for your son to do it for her? You have to give her love. Fill her now with so much that she doesn't need us. That's what the Indian society says, right?
Right.
A son is going to look after his mother. That's how we think, and that's how the society operates. So, and the way he stood with the fact that our daughter is enough, and we really stood up against society for that, and he stood like a rock with me. That no way. And in those times, for a person to stand up like that was not simple, especially when you have so much family around you.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks a lot for his value system, and the way that was one thing that we were I think maybe that was a common ground that we had.
Right. Oh, that's so beautiful.
That he really respects her.
No, that's really beautiful. I think for someone to stand up for you, knowing that there are consequences or pushback maybe from his extended family or others in society, but him being so determined to say these two girls are enough for me.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Like, and they're my whole world and they're my life. Like, that's all any girl would want, actually, in a partner.
Exactly. Like the other thing that he told your dad, if anybody can beat my luck, is you are luckier because you have two girls. So that's how you kind of, I'm just explaining the kind of person the person is.
Yeah. That's true. That's so sweet. I really feel like crying. It's like amazing. So at this stage, I'd love to turn back the clock and, go back to that phase before you were married. How old were you at that point of time when you started the process?
When I got married, I was just out of college. When I got engaged, I was 19 plus. When I got married, I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a very, very young girl, I think I was just a baby. But having said that, it was a different time zone. At that time, the marriageable age was much lower than what it is today. And I think it's the right thing to do. I think we were too little to be married off at that time because we started with, not knowing what the world was all about. And when I got married, my dad had a terrible accident. So though I was very enterprising and wanted to do a lot in life, but my dad said that, he was pretty unwell, was hospitalized for more than 4 months. And he wanted me to get married and be settled. So you kind of give in to the process, which I gave in, and I don't have any regrets.
Sure.
I don't have any regrets about it, but if I had to give, like my daughter, I saw to it that she got married only after she had a job, had a career, was settled, had a mind of her own, and only then.
Yeah. But give us a little insight into, the process of you meeting your now husband. What was that like, and what were your first impressions of that entire meeting?
So, Chandra, when I met my husband was like a different story altogether. It's actually a funny story. I'm quite a feminist at heart, to be very honest. So, because I was brought up in a joint family, and I had 7 cousin brothers, and I was the only girl. So, frankly, never thought as a girl, never behaved as a girl. So, when dad was in the hospital, I had no clue they wanted me to settle down. I had no clue because I was busy trying to, see to it that the doctors were coordinated, finances were coordinated, and those kind of things. And suddenly one day my dad says, why don't you go and see a house? We were house hunting at that time. Why don't you go and see this house for us to move into? So like on the pretext of seeing the house, they sent me to meet my to-be husband. And my in-laws. Yes.
So it was a surprise for you.
It was a surprise. So I got to know about it when I left their house. And my cousin sort of said that, do you know that guy? They're kind of really seriously thinking about him for you. I said, what rubbish. I'm not getting married so early. I'm only 19 and a half. I mean, I'm just out of college. I was out of college in July or whatever, May. And I got engaged in October. So that was like literally 4 months. And you're still getting your head around your dad being unwell, first of all. So then, as luck would have it, he came over and I said, I'm going to just say no. I mean, how can you get married so young, and how can you kind of give into the process so early in life? You need time to grow up. But then when I saw him, I met him, and there was this little nephew of his who came along. I must mention him because he was one of the reasons I said yes to the alliance. Because he was a really cute baby. I love babies. So this little one came, and my husband came over, Subir, and then he said, I'm from Bits Pilani. So that was the first kind of wooed me.
Check mark.
First tick. And then he said, what kind of music do you listen to? And he said, I listen to Doors. And frankly, though I used to listen to a lot of music, but Doors was not a name I'd heard of. I mean, not my kind of music. Wow, yeah, the guy is a class apart. I need to maybe know him better.
Yeah, sure.
And I said, okay. I mean, then whatever little conversation that we had. And he was very interesting. Our conversation was very interesting. I don't remember the details now anymore, but it was a very engaging conversation. So I think I kind of somewhere wanted to say, okay, if it goes ahead, I'm fine with it, kind of a thing. And so then I said yes. And he apparently got sort of floored by my nail paint, which I was wearing, and that's the color I was wearing.
No way.
That's why I'm mentioning it to you. I was wearing red nail paint, and he says, wow, your feet look so pretty and your hands look so pretty. And I said, okay, great. So anyway, so then finally, whatever, there was a agreement on both our parts, and we went into getting married in February. October we got engaged, in February we were married. So frankly, it was a very short period, but very interesting courtship, I would call it. I wish it was a little longer, but I think at that time, you don't have a say. Why I'm saying I wish it was a little longer is because I enjoyed that phase so much that I think it was too short. I wish it was a little longer. But I think just the fact that, something must have clicked that we just couldn't spend a day without each other. So, like we met almost every day. And there were no cell phones in those days. So the landline would we would wait for it to be free so that we could talk to each other. So it was like those 4 months was like we just wanted to get married. That kind of a thing.
So I actually want to go back to that time, when you were transitioning into married life. Tell us more about that change. Did you sort of enter into a joint family setup with him? Did you live separately? And how was that transition like for you?
So, like I told you, I was in a joint setup. I'm the only child of my parents.
Okay.
And I was very, very pampered. Now, taking on the responsibility of, I was in a joint setup. We used to live with my mother-in-law and father-in-law. And it was very overwhelming. Extremely. I mean, it was like, the sky falling on your head. That what has happened.
Really?
But, you're a young person. So obviously, it's not easy. But I think the love, the care, the fact that you knew your values, that you have to respect I kind of won them over. Let me put it like that, They reciprocated with as much love, So it became one big family. And in fact, Subir's family was a huge family. Currently, some of them are no more. But at that point of time, he had some 6 uncles and 4 aunts, all in Delhi. So it was like this huge joint family living in the same city. So every now and then we had people over. So it was overwhelming at that point of time and very upsettingly,
Just like a lot,
just like a lot to handle and upsetting also at times.
Right.
I must be honest
we
with
have
that.
to be honest.
You have to be honest. It was upsetting, but by the end of the day, when you sat back and then people came over and people gave you that kind of warmth, then you realize that it's okay. I mean, the warmth is what you cared for.
Sure.
There was never a day when you were not respected, loved, cared for. I think within a month or 2, I was okay.
Right.
Like initial month and a half was difficult.
Of course.
But then I think I was fine. I mean, I kind of started enjoying that. Why don't we call people over? Why are we alone today? But we made time for each other. That's one thing we did. We took regular holidays.
Okay.
We were young parents. We were very, very young when we had our baby. And again, she's the only child. But so we grew together. We grew together as individuals. We grew together as parents. Everything. I was 20, he was 24. So, you're just starting your journey together. And I think it was a wonderful growing up years. That's how I would put it.
Yeah.
We grew together.
Beautiful.
That was the best part of our marriage.
Yeah, that's so healthy.
Yeah.
Tell us about what changed after having your daughter. Did that affect your relationship with each other, and in what ways?
So it did for a time being, because when you're so young, and as it is, motherhood is not easy. So then I think transitioned into being a mother much more easily than Subir being a father. Because for a father, it is, I think, a little
Takes
more
time.
responsibility. And we were young. We still didn't have that financial ground.
Yeah.
So when for him, it was more concerning that how will I give my child a base? This is more work for me, But then I think as she grew up, as she started interacting with him within a year again, when the child gets responsive, then I think we enjoyed that journey too. And we enjoyed it so much that we didn't want to repeat it. Like it was, that one kid
It was so special.
Yeah, was so special. And also we realized that after giving her time, the balanced time we wanted for each other. We didn't want to, just be stuck into parenthood. That was a decision we made. That one child, time commitment. We already had commitment towards our parents.
Your work and
his work.
Yeah.
I started working much later when she grew up.
Got it.
So at that point of time, I was not working. But yes, parents were there. I was an only child. He was an only son. So there was a lot of responsibility that you had you had to look into. So we said, if we get into parenthood after parenthood, where are we? So we need time for each other.
So then you really cherished those moments that you were able to spend with each other. Can you tell us more about that? Like about retaining a very close, deep, meaningful bond over these years when you're being pulled in all these different directions. Like how did you do that?
I think we made sure that we never sleep with a fight. Never sleep with an argument. We had to sort out our issues and only then say goodnight. That was, I think, very, very important. Because, your thoughts can go so in all directions that I think it's best to clarify and then never fight and sleep.
Got it.
Let's put it like that. And the other thing that we did, we made time for each other. We definitely took a trip once a year, maybe even if it was an overnight, just the two of us, without my daughter with me, without us along. I used to always make sure that short getaway was very important.
Right.
Because that's the only time we had for each other.
Yeah.
And I think we cherished that. And I think definitely outing every week. One dinner was a must. That was a ritual. That one dinner, just the two of us, even if it was just a drive and eating in the car, that was okay. But we had to spend time that one evening. And that then the grandparents could babysit.
Sure.
So that is, I think, how we kept ourselves sane.
Of course.
And
it's
together.
so important.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
Why do you think marriage is an important chapter to have for an individual? Supposing a young person out there is watching, like, why do you believe in this institution?
Obviously, I've had a great marriage, so I'm going to vouch for it, and I'm going to stand up that everybody should have the experience that I've had. But having said that, the commitment that you have with another individual, it's like that sort of peace in your heart that there's always this person who's going to stand with me. And I have someone to go to, like the go-to kind of a person, each other. It's not like, so my father-in-law used to say this, I'm going to quote him here, that, most of our relationships, since the day we open our eyes in this world, are made by God. Because God chooses your parents, God chooses your grandparents, your siblings, blah, 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 right? This is the one choice we make. And when we make that choice, we have to be responsible, patient, and committed to that choice.
Great. So there are a lot of people out there who might be looking for a life partner. What advice would you give any young man or woman out there who's sort of at the beginning of this journey and hasn't found that person yet? What would you say to them?
I think the first thing that you look for in each other are your values. I truly believe that if you come from when your values are the same, because that is what keeps you grounded.
Correct.
And that is what takes you forward in life. Otherwise, we are nowhere without our values. So I think look for good values, and other than that, be patient, look for the right person, and I think go with your gut.
You believe intuition?
Yeah, I think your gut always somewhere tells you that whether you're going right or wrong.
I want to know a little bit, like, so now obviously your daughter got married, right? And so how did you kind of support or facilitate that process, if you're open to sharing? And like, what were you looking for in a potential son-in-law?
When I was looking for somebody, I had already started the process of looking out for, the appropriate son-in-law, I would say, and the appropriate spouse for her. But so the things that I was looking for were intelligent, well-educated, similar, thought process and similar values, but well-educated, money no bar. I don't think money is important. Like I said, we grew up together. We started with very little. I mean, Subir was just into his first job. I mean, it was not like we were multimillionaires. So everything we built together.
But he was educated.
He was he was educated and a good person. So then, and the fun of growing together and building each brick of your house one by one. And I'm today in my 8th home after marriage.
Wow.
And God has been kind. Each abode has been better than the earlier. So we've built our life together. And I think that satisfaction, that you start with humbleness and you grow. And I think that's what I wanted for us.
Okay.
I wanted her to grow.
Was there any advice that you gave her, like, before she got married?
Be patient.
Okay.
You will have differences. There are no two people who will not have differences. We differ with our parents. We differ with our siblings. So how is it that two people who are brought up in two different atmospheres and different kind of, upbringings, how can they not differ? They will differ.
Okay.
So, but be patient. Sort your differences. I mean, every little difference need not be a warning bell.
Yeah.
You have to.
It's an opportunity, actually.
It's an opportunity.
To communicate better.
Yes.
To grow closer.
To connect better.
Correct.
To grow better. I mean, I remember, this is something that I did on every single year. There was a phase that, like I told you, and I hadn't started working when I got married. I started working much later. But before I started my entrepreneurial venture, I took up multiple jobs. Every time I would take up this job, only to earn that much that I would be able to buy Subir a birthday gift.
Aww.
Because I would feel that I have to buy him. I
Yeah.
can't take it out of the money that he gives me.
Yeah. It's a
Or
gift.
It's a gift. I have to earn it.
That was all my
Thank you.
questions.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Love Handle. This has been incredibly enlightening, incredibly eye-opening, I think, for all of us here. And if you like this video and you'd like to see more such content, do be sure to hit subscribe, like this video, share it with your friends, and we will see you next time.